was a time when I didn't vote. For years, I watched this shit show from the sidelines. I saw it as a rigged game, a spectacle designed to give us the illusion of choice while the corporate gears kept grinding. I figured my non-participation was a statement in of itself, that I refused to legitimize the charade. I was content to be a critic, a commentator on the sidelines, because what difference did one vote make anyways? I remember a time not long ago when a Democrat and a Republican could get a beer together. They could argue about taxes, maybe even have a heated debate, and then go back to being friends or coworkers or spouses to agree to disagree. It was a disagreement like your favorite sports team. It wasn't a declaration of war. The idea that a political affiliation could be a deal breaker in a marriage now feels like a relic from a forgotten, saner era. It feels as distant as the rotary phone. So, what changed? Why does it feel so impossible to just exist anymore without strapping on a uniform and joining the battle? Why does it feel like neutrality is no longer a position but a moral failure? Because one side decided to burn the fucking house down. You don't get to be neutral when one of those two options is a lit match and a can of gasoline. You don't get to stand back up and say, well, both sides have a point, when one side is actively trying to dismantle the very foundations of democracy, the rule of law, and basic human decency. I held out as long as I could, but 2024 broke me. The sheer, relentless escalation of insanity coming from the Trump regime and its cult of personality became impossible to ignore. It was never really just about policy with them to begin with. It was about the cruelty. It was about the gleeful celebration of ignorance on the basis of, quote unquote, owning the libs. It was about the open embrace of authoritarianism. This isn't your father's Republican Party. This isn't even George W. Bush's Republican Party. This is a movement built on a foundation of lies, conspiracy theories, and a seething resentment for anyone who doesn't fall in line. They are not trying to govern, they are trying to rule, and they are telegraphing their intentions every single day. So yeah, in 2024, for the first time, I voted. Not because I suddenly fell in love with the Democratic Party. Let's be clear. They're feckless, spineless, corporate-owned messes of people. But they are, at this moment in history, the only fire extinguisher in a building full of arsonists. I voted because I had to. I felt a moral obligation to, in my own tiny, insignificant way, to fight against the rising tide of American fascism. And this is the part that makes a lot of people uncomfortable, especially the whole both sides crowd. I don't think it's unreasonable to judge someone for supporting that. When someone votes for Trump in 2024, after everything we've seen, the insurrection, the classified documents, the threats of genocide, the open corruption, the attacks on the press, the stacking of courts with cronies, they're telling you something about their character. They are telling you that either they are so deep in the propaganda that they are unreachable, or they actively want the chaos. They are telling you that their resentment or their desire to own the libs is more important than the stability of the entire country. And yeah, that says something about them. It says something profound. And I know a lot of the responses are, you're just as extreme as they are. You're the one dividing everyone else. No, this is the logic of a battered spouse who says, well, if I didn't just make him so mad, he wouldn't have to hit me. We are not the problem. Pointing out fascism is not the same as being a fascist. Defending democracy is not the same as attacking it. The obsession with balance and centrism in a moment of extreme imbalance is a form of moral cowardice. It's a refusal to call evil by its name. So, now we're stuck. We're stuck in this binary because one side forced the issue. They made it a zero-sum game. They made it about survival. And you can't reason with a movement that is fundamentally unreasonable. You can't find common ground with people who believe common ground is a betrayal. Maybe, one day, I can go back to ignoring politics. Maybe one day, I can go back to being a cynical commentator on the sidelines. Maybe one day, we can live in a country where a Republican and a Democrat can get married again without being in a cross-cultural expedition. But that day is not today. Not while the threat is actively growing. So yeah, I picked a side. I'm on the side of not living in a fascist dictatorship. I'm on the side of basic reality. I'm on the side of not annihilating entire countries because of a 3 a.m. tweet. If that makes me extreme, then so be it. But history doesn't remember the people who stayed neutral in the face of rising evil. It remembers the people who stood up and fought it in whatever small way they could. And for the first time in my life, I realized that being one of those people was more important than being right about how broken the system is. So yeah, the time for commentary is over. It's time to pick a side.